While he was tying up the children after the kidnapping, he ordered me to dig a hole for each one. Of course, I didn't want to do that. I was just horrified and scared of my uncle. One day, I stayed with the kids inside the basement to monitor them. Crying, they were begging to let them go. I could see that some of the kids were almost the same age as my age, so I untied them and let them sneak out by the back door so my uncle couldn't see them. He was in the kitchen sharpening his knives. I returned to the kitchen acting like nothing happened, but somehow when he lifted his head, he knew my uncle ever. The next morning, I woke up and figured out that he was not there. And all of a sudden, I was the one who was disappointed about the kids' escape, or whatever. The next morning, I woke up. It's the next morning. It seemed like that he was thinking that I was the one who was disappointed about the kids' escape, or whatever. The next morning, I woke up and figured out that he was not there. And all of a sudden, I heard a loud siren, and soon after, the police entered inside the farmhouse. They found me and asked me if I was one of those kids who was kidnapped by him. I couldn't lie to him. I always felt sorry for lots of kids who got kidnapped by him. So I told them that I was his nephew, and they took me with them for questioning. I was crying so badly when I confessed the truth about him to the police. It was the hardest moment that I had to give proof of my uncle's serious crime, because I loved him anyway, whether he's a criminal or not. But I knew this day would come, and actually, I was waiting for it. They didn't believe me at first, but I revealed the location of the holes to them. After digging, the police found bodies under the ground. At that time, my uncle got back to my mother's house, hugged her, and begged to stay for a while. However, the police had already told her about the incident and what had happened to me. So she told him he could stay, but as soon as he got to the bathroom to shower, she alerted Dad and they called the police. My uncle was arrested finally, and the police thanked me and told me that I was such a brave kid. They brought me back to my parents, and I could have a better life with them. My uncle was charged with kidnapping, murdering kids, and even showing me such terrible things that kids should not see. He was condemned to death, and not long after, finally hanged. My name is Jonathan. I live in an average apartment. There are main roads via my apartment, but there's also a shortcut too, which makes it faster to go to one of my friends, Nick's house. However, the weird thing was that nobody uses the road. I didn't know until I saw something on it that very day. One day, I went to visit Nick as usual. We played some kinds of games together in his house, having snacks. The outside had become dark, and when I looked at the time, it was almost 10 p.m. Then my mom called me to get back home as soon as possible. And so I packed my stuff quickly.
I guess let's pause it. Can't believe I'm still in the mental institute. Yandere mental hospital. Good. I can't believe it. I'm still in mental hospital. When are they gonna let me out? Like, fuck. I wonder, when are they gonna let me out? My room should be this way if I'm not correct. Here, no. Here, no. No. Okay, so it should be on the other side then. Nope. 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 Mine is with the TV. They're spamming on me. Like to see if I like it or not. So they can give everyone it. I think, yeah. Here it is. Here's my room. Cool. Let's head to bed. The day is Saturday. Nice, it's a weekend. Where should I hang out today? Should I hang out at the school or... Yeah, let's go hang out. Let's go hang out here, I guess.
I got out of my friend's house, walked for like 2 minutes, and then I decided to walk through that shortcut lane this time. Because it was completely dark, it gave me a chill, but I was in a rush, so I lighted my phone's flash and walked through the road. It was a straight road, and all the leaves and bushes were on the two sides. And the next moment became the most terrible memory for my entire life.
What you doing here?
While I was walking alone, my phone's battery suddenly died. Holy crap, I mumbled to myself, but at that moment, I was so freaked out. I made my pace quicker when I heard someone's footsteps. When I looked up, there was a figure in front of me that was almost black and invisible.
I'm in here?
All lampposts in that road were broken except 2 of them.
You got connections.
But those 2 lampposts were flickering continuously, and the figure was slowly walking closer to my side. When the light fell on his face, I could see him, full of scars on his face. He had a cut in his throat, and the blood is falling out of his cut. I tried to ask him if he needed any help, but then he put his hand on top of his head slowly, and he picked it up. I could see his head was dividing from his body, and he was just standing there, holding his head in one hand and looking straight into my eyes. I couldn't even move because I was so terrified at that moment. All of a sudden, his head was laughing loudly and gave a shriek loudly at the very next. I stepped back, and then he came in front of me again with big strides. This time, I could see those 2 lampposts which were flickering above him all went out. And I don't remember anything after that. The next morning when I woke up, I was in a hospital. It turned out that some guy who was jogging around found me unconscious on that road. My mother was sitting next to me with an anxious look, so I told her my entire experience. When I finished telling her, she seemed a little surprised, and then she patted my back. She told me that there was a man who was murdered and beheaded by some gang members on that road a few years ago, but the police could neither find his head nor the criminal. Since then, lots of people saw the same stuff as me, so they stopped using that road. Even now, whenever I go to my home, I still ignore that frightening road and take another long path. It would always make my heart sink, just thinking about that incident itself. My name is Alan, and this happened a year ago. I was at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport and about to check in, going to Dubai. I was standing in the line to check in when I noticed that someone was staring at me.
Is that you?
It was a girl.
Hey, Dad.
She seemed like an ordinary girl at first, but then I noticed that her eyes were odd. They were open, very wide. She was smiling at me, but her smile was kind of annoying and crooked. I got creeped out, so After I was finished checking in, I quickly went
You're
through
here,
immigration
Dad.
and headed to the
Jack
flight gates.
killed a bunch of prisoners.
Before going to the gates, I stopped at the restroom, and while I was urinating there, I could hear someone faintly whispering outside. I could tell that it was a girl's voice. When I finally walked outside, I encountered the same girl who I had met at the check-in line. She was just standing there.
Nice.
But then, I saw scissors in her pocket. I quickly pushed her, ran away, and hid from her for a while. 30 minutes later, I barely arrived at the gate. And guess who arrived at the gate? Right, the same girl was there again. She was literally stalking me the whole time. Right then, I was terrified. So when we started boarding, I made sure that I didn't make eye contact with her at all. Fortunately, my seat was apart from hers. So at least I felt a little relieved during the flight. But this story didn't end there. When I arrived in Dubai, I quickly got out of the airport and headed to the currency exchange counter. While I was exchanging my money, I looked around several times, but there was no sign of her anywhere. I quickly grabbed my money, but the moment I turned around, my heart dropped. The same girl whom I'd met at the airport was there. She was staring at me, holding scissors. But this time, she started twitching bizarrely. Her smile became bigger and even scarier, and she was walking toward me, closer and closer. It was almost 2 a.m., and there was nobody else around in that area. I had no choice but to run, so I dashed quickly away and started searching for a taxi to get to the train station. Just then, I realized that the girl started to speed up to chase after me. Luckily, I narrowly found one taxi, and when I got in, it was a sigh of relief. When I glanced out the back window, the girl was standing there and was staring straight into my eyes. After 2 weeks, I went back to Manila. Of course, I didn't see her anymore after that night. However, the memory of that girl has been haunting me to this day. I haven't been able to forget her face.
This is about a dream I had when I was in middle school. In my dream, I was standing in a huge empty space with other people, and I could see the dim light from afar. In fact, behind us, there were some strange people coming after us. They were chasing after us, walking on all fours, catching and eating people. Each person ran quickly towards the light. I was frightened by those strange beings chasing me from behind, but for some reason I couldn't move my legs to run. However, at one point, I suddenly realized it was a dream and felt at ease. It's a dream. I was standing there, and at that moment, a man in his 30s who was running just stopped next to me. Are you dreaming too? The moment the man spoke to me, I got goosebumps. How could it be possible to meet another person in a dream? While we were standing still looking at each other, the people behind us suddenly attacked us. At that moment, I woke up screaming. In my whole 26 years of existence, I only have one dream that I vividly remember. It's about a nightmare that I had when I was in the 8th grade. Although I can't remember the whole story, the last moment still gives me a chill to this day. So I was being chased by someone on a mountain along with some other guy in this dream. I could feel how I was gasping for air and the pain on both of my legs. I was about to give up on running. However, all of a sudden, the man suddenly grabbed my shoulder and told me to run away and live. Furthermore, he already knew my name. That was the weirdest moment. As soon as he finished what he was saying, the man who was chasing after us appeared from behind and smashed his head in heavily. And that's when I woke up. Being afraid, I noticed that I had been bleeding on both sides of my nose when I woke up. It was about 5 a.m. I woke up my mom and talked about the dream. I know that it was just a dream, but I kept feeling uncomfortable, so I told my family to be careful. To my surprise, I heard that my uncle died the next day. He just died abruptly, even though he wasn't sick at all. At that moment, when I heard that from my dad, I got goosebumps. Well, of course, it's just a coincidence, but who knows? This story is about the creepiest dream I've ever had. In my dream, I was in middle school and inside of a classroom. All of a sudden, I noticed that my classmates were rambling on. They said that demons had invaded our school and that they could change into humans, like monsters from one of those Korean horror movies. Some of my friends were gathering around each other, putting their heads together to come up with a plan. They wanted to figure out a way to exorcise the demons. All the doors were locked. I was standing in the classroom with an anxious look on my face. However, the moment they suddenly knocked was the moment I realized that I was dreaming. Hey, isn't this a dream? It's just a dream. When I asked them while laughing, they all turned around and looked at me with empty eyes, and then I couldn't believe what I heard. You might be, but we are not. That was the last memory. A few years ago, my mom, my younger sister, and I went out for dinner at a local restaurant one night. As we were walking on the sidewalk towards the restaurant, I noticed a man walking towards us from the opposite of him. He looked like he was in his mid-50s.
See you, son. See you, babe. Good night. You too. I'll see you in the morning. Okay? Okay. Can't believe I'm still in my fucking mental hospital. Great. Is it this one or the other one? It's the one with the flag. So it's this one. Can't believe it's Sunday now. And then tomorrow is back at school. In the mental hospital. Great. Cannot believe it. Hey babe. Hey dad. Hey son. Hey.
He was tall. Anyway, we walked inside the restaurant, and the waiter led us to a table. Then, a few minutes later, the same man from the sidewalk walked in and sat at a table close to ours, which was so uncomfortable. I thought this was weird, but when our meals came out, I just swept away any doubts about him. While we were eating, I noticed that he was staring at me the whole time. I tried to ignore him. When my sister and I were almost finished eating, the waiter came up to us and said to my mom, "Ma'am, don't worry, your bill has been paid." My mom was confused and asked him what he meant, and he said that the man who was sitting next to our table had offered to pay the bill for us. Although this was a cheap restaurant, my mom refused the offer and explained that she was creeped out by that man. The waiter soon nodded and went to go get our bill. When he left, the man slowly walked towards us, opened a strange duffel bag he was carrying, and pulled out 2 stuffed animals. The shapes of the stuffed animals were totally crushed, and I didn't realize that it was an animal at first. It was the most disgusting thing that I've ever seen in my life. My heart started beating faster when he came over to our table and gave the stuffed animals to me and my sister. Being a 5-year-old girl, my sister was going to say yes, but my mom and I both interrupted and refused. Then the man didn't say a word. He walked back to his table and sat down. After the waiter came back with our bill, my mom explained what just happened. The waiter said that the man paid for his meal, so it wasn't possible to kick him out. However, the waiter said that he would follow us out of the restaurant to make sure everything was okay. Later that night, when we came back home, I tried to fall asleep, but it was hard to close my eyes because I was still feeling uncomfortable. I just laid there, and when I looked at the clock, it was around 2 a.m. All of a sudden, I heard someone walking outside my window. It was the fall season, so all loud crunching sounds whenever someone walked on them. At first, I assumed that it might have been some type of animal. However, I abruptly remembered the man from the restaurant and began to feel scared. The sound of footsteps was getting closer, and I shut my eyes as tight as I possibly could. Knock, knock, knock. I heard someone knock on my window 3 times. Slowly, I froze. I knew that it was a red flag and that I shouldn't open my eyes. But I opened my eyes cautiously. Then my heart dropped. The man at the restaurant was peeking through my window. With his glaring eyes, his eyes were fixed on me and looked. However, he didn't do.
Good night, you two. Good night, son. Good night, babe. Then tomorrow is back at school. Great. I cannot believe it. This is the tallest building. Where is this? Is this in a town or a village or a city? All I can see is okay. That's all I can see. Tomorrow I might go up top of the school and have a walk. If I have class up there, well, all the way up top. That school is big as. What crap, that school is big. They need to. Okay, good. So this one. Ah, here we are. It's time to get up for school. Patience. Oh, okay. I still have my knife. Just in case if anyone tries to look at me funny or anything. I still got my knife. And what class I have? Okay, it's free period until 9 a.m. Cool. It's free period until 9 a.m. Look at this. Basketball court and soccer field. Nice.
Any harm to me. He just stood there watching me and then walked away after a while. I didn't get any sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, I explained to my mom what happened yesterday, and she called the police right away. However, although the police searched all over the area, they couldn't find him. They didn't know who that creeper was or what he wanted, but I'll never forget that night.
My name is Eric. I'm 31 years old, as well as a single dad living in a one-story house with my son, named Alex. It all started the night before Christmas, when Alex was 5 years old. Alex was so excited, so we decided to go for a walk around our town. We were walking down our road, listening to the sound of carolers in the distance. That led us all the way down to the main street.
Hey, babe.
When we came face to face with the three old women singing, I took out my phone trying to record a story for my Instagram, just like other people around us. When I looked down, I saw my son covering his ears. I stopped recording, crouched down, and asked him what was wrong, but he didn't answer. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see the middle woman of the three carolers was giving my son an evil grin with a large, creepy smile. She seemed a little bit weird. Well, it was a chilly December night, so I decided we would head back anyway. When we reached home, my son looked relieved. So I thought he just wanted to go watch TV and catch up on his episode he thought that he might miss. Later, as I was cooking in the kitchen, I took a glance at my son, and I could see that he looked absolutely terrified. He was sitting straight up on the couch, which faced the TV. There was a large window next to the couch that had the curtains slightly open. Then he sprinted up quickly, ran to me, and just hugged my leg. "Daddy, she's here," he told me with a shivering voice, and I replied, "Who?" He exclaimed back, "The middle woman we saw when we watched the caroling." I quickly looked at the window, and there really was that old lady we saw not too long ago. I closed my eyes for about 1 second, and when I opened my eyes again, she completely vanished. Being freaked out, I called 911 naturally, telling them about what had just happened. There were 3 cops that showed up, so I explained the incident to them again, and one of the cops showed me a photograph that looked kind of old to me. She was in there. Then she pointed to that old lady, asking if this was her, and I answered yes. She started laughing. My son looked confused until I asked why she was laughing. She stopped and gave us a kind of serious look this time, but was still smiling. Then she said, "Hey, you know what? I know this is weird, but this woman died 3 years ago, on this exact same day." My heart dropped. That's when my son looked terrified too. I tried to calm him down, but I couldn't believe what was going on. The other 2 cops came inside and said they found no trace of anything while searching. It made no sense. When the cops had left our house, I put my son into his bed and went to my room. I turned the light on my nightstand that was close to the side, grabbed my phone, and decided to open my story.
Anyway, babe,
And to my surprise, I couldn't find that old lady in there. I checked another story, and then checked another again.
I'm not going to
But in
class.
fact, it was just 2 women there singing. Feeling mixed emotions like scared, mad, and even more, stupid, I started checking some other people.
I might even I might even put some music in the fucking area. Like the lounging area, whatever that's called. Might even put some music. Look how big is the fucking school is. Now where's the lounging area? Ah, it's down here. Have they fixed the window what I broke? What I escaped from? Yes, they have. Good. Okay, cool. And have they cleaned up blood? I think they have cleaned up the blood. But I killed someone. Pardon me? Yeah, they have. Cool. I guess let's connect. That.
You just got the news, how your crew tripping bad too. Modern day slave in my new stripping ragu. She gon' call me Poppy, I'ma show you what her dad do. Young the flame sicko, put his exes in a group. Word, I got hella dimes, add 'em up, I'll make a band too. Nigga, I'm a damn fool. Crush it up and roll it, nigga, light it like a candle. Don't come to my session if it's more than you could handle. Me and action packing purple flowers.
Which one? How come you're not at school? Why not? I'm fucking lagging.
I just told me go, I pulled the
hate
plug
school.
on all your man.
So I fucking not. Fuck school.
These niggas some
That's
damn
true.
hoes. I feel like
Fuck
I
school.
reach all the shit is in my handles. Damn, Daniel, why you back at it with the Van Gogh? Spark trees in the Yo-2, mix it up, I make that guap. Woo! Cocaine with the flow, man, with the wrist, I make that rock. Woo! Can't climb if it ain't time, give it here, I make that high. Woo! Weird flex, but it's cool, I guess, if a nigga wanna hate my body. We crossed up on the train, make a smile. We crossed up on the train, make a smile. We crossed up on the train, make a smile. Gotta meditate, cause the job is. We crossed up on the train, make a smile. We crossed up on the train, make a smile. We crossed up on the train, make a smile. Gotta meditate, cause the job. We so loud in your face and it's yelling. Got a couple ounces and they all foreign hailing. Nugs in the nugs, crush it up and then I shell it. If you looking for me, you can find me where the L is. Got no hands or limits, roll it perfect every time. Ask me what I'm wearing, it's that OG number 9. Call me Shop Storm, I be always on my grind. I'm a real pie head, I be always getting high. So you got dank, I'ma need that. We so loud, got the feedback. If it's OG, need a 3-pack. Bust it all down in a re-stack. Gotta re-up, see the wee man. Got out the dirt, they need hair. All I ever wanted was the green plant. Look at last week, gotta free that. Look, inhale, then exhale, take a backwood to the face. Tell my Medicaid, it's a better day, cause I smoke my problems away. Smoke of pressure, we ain't gotta measure, every bag will fill with an eight. If you're scavenging, you can bet your ass with something crushed up on the train. Always got some ganja when I'm rolling with my partners. If you see us, you can smell us, we been smoking marijuana. Let's go nug for nug, I'm just looking for the smoke. Green diamond saying hi, every time you take a toe, we got that.
We crushed up on the tray, I'm about to break it down, my feet kicked up. Living great, I'm about to blaze a pound, my team gassed up. Make a way or you won't make it out, I creased that blunt. Up the guts to put an eighth a lot, I hate it how they ain't walking, how they talking. First you had it, but you lost it, ain't watching, proceed with caution. So I made a vow that failure is not an option. Be private and rip the private, deep thoughts and deep pockets, no more empty wallets. And I know what they say about more dope, and it's great, but I want many problems. For the nights that I stayed up away, had no cake, I was eating ramen, didn't have any dollars. Now it's steak and shrimp with the Fiji water. What I wanna get, what I need, I got it. Say we got the drip, cause they see we trapping. They know the name, ay. They roll on the wave, ay. They go to the shows to roll up the smoke and throw on the stage. Ay. I know how to play, ay. She goes to the game, ay. You roll with the gang, ay. You roll up in blaze.
We crossed up on the train, make a smile. We crossed up on the train, make a smile. We crossed up on the train, make a smile. Gotta meditate, cause the job is.
With the plug, I got a tab, I'm always running out. But he know I'm coming back, ain't gotta hunt me down. I need the weed, it's a bad dream when I'm in a drought and you can keep the seeds. I don't work in a grow house in love with sticky leaves, it gives me a sense of peace. We
we keep it in rotation. I'm waiting for it to be my turn so I can chief like a bird. It makes me sing. The herb is so superb, and from the earth it came to be. We just be getting high, working hard, live my life on the beat, and I be getting fried like chicken.
Next. Next.
Well, ma'am.
Next. Next. Next.
Next.
Next. Next. Next. Next. Next. Next. Next. Next. Yeah, this one. Oh, yeah. Good ganja.
Anime thighs when she opened up so wide, I got a twinkle in my eye. Asian pussy is so tight, I just really wanna pipe. Oh my god, she got them big ass titties, she's only 5. Anime thighs when she opened up so wide, I got a twinkle in my eye. Asian pussy is so tight, I just really wanna pipe. Oh my god, she got them big ass titties, she's only 5. Hey, bitch, I'm about to fuck this cutie, so I whip out my katana and I knock this little bitch out with just one hit like I'm Saitama. Why you act like you retarded, like little bitch, I don't want drama. I still hit when she says no, don't understand when she don't wanna. Ay, sword fighting with my penis like I'm in a fucking dojo. All these bitches want me like my name was fucking JoJo. Asian penis is too tiny like it was a no-show. Bitch, don't watch your coochie, watch anime with the bros though.
My motherfucking bitch, I'm gonna give the size a little motherfucking kiss, and then you think like a shit. Hurry if you wanna list, yeah, yes you did. My groupie, you take the thing like this. Okay, like little bitch, I don't care if that fat ass is too deep. Score a bounty on that pussy, you can call me Spike Lee. I'm not fighting getting ice, bitch, I'm Todoroki. If you got some shit to say, then you can say it to me.
Anime thighs when she opened up so wide, I got a twinkle in my eye. Asian pussy is so tight, I just really wanna pipe. Oh my god, she got them big ass titties, she's only 5. Anime thighs when she opened up so wide, I got a twinkle in my eye. Asian pussy is so tight, I just really wanna pipe. Oh my god, she got them big ass titties, she's only 5. Asuna, Mikasa, please can you just give me head, please just get on your knees, bitch, I'll beat up that ass like my name is Lucy, and I'll eat up that pussy like Anton and Keith, ayy. Asian people driving, are they even trying? I be buying all this hentai, so I drink it, I'm not lying, now I'm signing, cause I want Hatsune Miku, now I'm crying, when I fuck anime bitches, I'll be moaning and be whining, ayy. Thick thighs look sexy, even when especially she decides to wear her dress, or she nuzzles on my neck, now we're laying on the bed, man, I love my body pillow, especially giving head, you know what's next. Anime thighs when she opened up so wide, I got a twinkle in my eye. Cause she's so tight, I just really wanna pipe. Oh my god, she got them big ass titties, she's only 5.
That was gay.
Next. This one. Yeah, brother.
Hey, so my parents got divorced and oh my god, my life's over until I saw my stepsis and she gave me a boner. Think I'm a better bitch over. I give her dick on the donor. Now for my parents breaking up, I am the biggest supporter. Cause I got 2 Christmas and a new bitch that I call sis. She got big tits, give a nip slip and a slim thick and takes my dick or down walked in. Now I'm screaming at the top of my lungs like, oh no, and she said,
so what? He's just my stepbro.
she saw me beat my dick to anime, and so my sis, she told me you don't have to masturbate. She got undressed and told me, baby, you can have a taste like family strokes. I can't believe that this is happening. She saw me beat my dick to anime, and so my sis, she told me you don't have to masturbate. She got undressed and told me, baby, you can have a taste like family strokes. I can't believe that this is happening. Okay,
I pulled up to my stepsis cause she looking like a cutie. Then she nibbled on my penis, so I ate up on her booty. Yeah, she looking so delectable, even though we're related. Brought her to my room and told her that I wanna masturbate it. Hey, jerking to my stepsis, it's backwards like Texas. She up on my pee cause you know that Maxie's next, bitch. Don't even care if we in the same bloodline. Nut up on her face, now I'm feeling super sublime.
Hey, beat up her cheeks and then on her booty. I'll lead on my sister like it was a smoothie.
Pull up with the clip and I ain't talking movie. I get super hard when I look at her boobies. Sweet kinda shitty, no open it, Jimmy. I know her neck and I know her titty. Might take her to kitty, I know it ain't pretty. I'll dive in her pussy, it smell kinda fish. Ayy, smell kinda fishy, ayy. Shout out the homies like Gibby, ayy. Jerking my dick every day to the POV porn with the stepmom and sissy, ayy. Man, I'm just way too hard. Horny levels on par, but my PP is not large. She saw me beat my dick to anime, and so my sis, she told me you don't have to masturbate. She got undressed and told me, baby, you can have it. Taste like family strokes, I can't believe that this is happening. She saw me beat my dick to anime, and so my sis, she told me you don't have to masturbate. She got undressed and told me, baby, you can have it. Taste like family strokes, I can't believe it, this is happening. Okay, like